So welcome everybody to our professional development 2. I am going to go ahead and get started. I ran into a little bit of I was a little late on the last session, so want to make sure we stay on time today for everybody. So my name is Anita Gonzalez, and I am the Deputy Director for New Mexico Mesa. And today we're going to be preparing for competition and just covering some current statewide events that we have going on. Just some general notes, the session is being recorded, so you are more than welcome to have your cameras on if you'd like, but you can also keep them off, your choice. We just ask that you stay muted until, but if you do have a question or anything does pop up, please feel free to chime in, whether by using your microphone and asking a question or by typing it in the chat. When we get to certain sections, I'll make sure to try to monitor that chat closely to answer anything that we may have. Okay. So with that, the session today for this first part is going to go into just kind of a catch up of where we're at. There's been a lot of activities that have been happening, just released statewide in our fall semester. So looking at our fall event summaries, making sure that all of our teachers are just kind of on board with all the different activities that we have, and that, any questions that you may have on those. Looking forward to the spring, and then we'll get into the bulk of our 2 statewide events, our Mesa or our 2 statewide competitions that will be happening in the spring, our Mesa USA and our Mesa Day events. We'll be also along the way kind of going into how to prepare, any questions, and then our last session of the day is actually a regional breakout and kind of regional planning. And I'll give some instructions for that later on at the end of the session. First off, thank you guys all for coming today. This day has been a few sessions. Earlier this morning, we did meet with some of your administrators. And so some of these slides here in the morning, they're kind of double dutied. We did use them this morning, some of them talking about the activity updates and information during our administrator session, but they were also very appropriate to share with all of you. They may look a little bit formatted differently in that they were segmented into what resources are available to general public, and also what resources are available to just for Mesa students. So, we had a session talking about STEM for everyone. I'm going to go into a section on I'll navigate through our website in just a moment here, but we're mid-year into our school year. And if you haven't already, as an advisor, had a chance to navigate through our website, please do. The website is where we house all of our statewide events, and it's where we kind of it's the portal for everything, for all the different statewide event information, registration, links to different things. It'll also give you information for all the different resources that we have. So currently right now on our website, just so you know what is currently uploaded there is one, it's the home to our STEM series session. We have already had 2. There were 2 great sessions that we had already this fall. One was from Spaceport America, and one was on rural healthcare. Our next session coming up will be on December 14th. And I have not gotten a chance to update the website, but we have final confirmation. The speaker for that will be Ganymede Games out of Las Cruces, talking about video game development. And then our session for January, which I'm really excited about, will be a New Mexico resident and former Espanola resident, who is now working on space biology. Flew some green chilies into space. So some cool sessions upcoming. So please make sure to join us and stay on top of our STEM series. Also on our website, besides our STEM series, it's the home to our links to a digital media series and also our curriculum. And I should have changed this PowerPoint here in the break. All of those items are now uploaded. So up on our website right now, we have our Mesa curriculum to be accessed. As Mesa teachers, you guys have full access to anything provided by Mesa USA, and there's also some different items. We just had a session on Invention education, so if you weren't able to join us for whatever reason, you can always catch the recording, and that session used a lot of the information from the Invention education materials and how to prepare for Mesa Day. So all of those are now available on our website. And so here again, just as a quick perusal, quick navigation, where to find everything. You go to nmmesa.org. Here in resources is where you're going to find digital learning is the home to our STEM series. curriculum is where you can go to find her curriculum. Any of our activity downloads are here. If you want to go to events, you'd go here to events, future events. And we do have an upcoming release of a project. We have been working with, well, last year we received a Facebook grant. And so working with our Central Interregion and our Valencia County schools, we have created a video series program titled Going Digital. And in that, it's a series of about 25 to 30 little short videos. Some are like how-tos, like how to save a PDF or how to, how to organize your digital files, tips for virtual learning, understanding different math concepts, things of that nature. And so we're still in the final recording process to finish out the series, but what has been launched is available on our YouTube site, but eventually it will have a home also here in resources. Once the series is completed, we'll do a major launch for all of those. Okay. Some other items just that we have been using and just referencing is for all of our recording, we've been making an effort to archive everything, STEM series, trainings, professional. So like the session for this will be archived on our YouTube channel. So you can go to YouTube, search up New Mexico Mesa. We should pop up. Also, this presentation will be downloaded. The administrator will be downloaded. It's also hyperlinked. But if you just search up New Mexico Mesa or NM Mesa, we should pop up in YouTube and you can find our channel. Or there's lots of different ways to link it from our website. There's lots of linkages to find it. And again, it will be the place for all archived activities and recordings, and also our Going Digital video series. And as always, if you are not following us on social media, please do. Besides our Mesa events that we have happening, we also like to share out lots of good things. So if we get pictures from regional happenings, advisors will send in pictures to the coordinators will provide pictures we like to share out on our different social media sites. Also, we have a lot of partner programs that this is where we really, if they say, can you please get this out to your Mesa students? A lot of times this is the best place to look, like for new programs, for new opportunities. So if you do follow any type of social media, try to give us a follow. That'll help kind of keep up with new happenings. Okay. So again, as I mentioned, the rest of this presentation kind of focuses on, what we presented to the administrators this morning, but it's also very helpful as to where we're at right now within our fall, right now, like mid-fall, I guess, mid-fall for our Mesa year. We have been focusing a lot on our teacher trainings. We are 2 out of our 3 statewide professional developments. The importance for this slide here is I do want to just kind of announce some other trainings that will come up. Excuse me. One is there will be a Mesa USA National Conference that will be on December the 11th. Right now there's a save the date out. Once registration becomes open for that, I will send out through the channels. But if you want to save the date, it'll be a national conference for all teachers. Will be invited on December the 11th. Also in January, we will start our technical trainings. So these trainings are specifically for help with some of our Mesa USA projects that require, coding and programming. So again, keep an eye out for those dates and registration if you want to attend, but there will be beginner and intermediate sessions on Arduino, microbit/circuit Playground Express, one session, app development and web design. So those trainings will be occurring. Okay. And then also just sending this out there because this has been just such an amazing program so far this fall. We are again mid-fall, so all of these pathways are already in progress. Our teachers are working to participate in this. You would have had to participate in PD1 and complete the contract to commit to the pathway. But we have students that are in work doing BattleBots. We've had teachers that went out to New Mexico Tech and are busy building drones, and licenses have all been released for teachers in the digital media pathway to be able to start on the Beyond programs. Okay. So I'm going to take a pause there, and if there was any questions on what I covered pretty quickly. Okay, so now I'm going into some of the activities that we have going on this fall. And when they're titled Mesa for Everyone, meaning there's an opportunity for lots of participation. We talked about our virtual events, our STEM series are going digital. I do want to remind that, of course, we would love our Mesa students to participate, but all of those are open to the public. So again, if you have students that are maybe teetering about joining Mesa, maybe they're thinking about it, you could possibly use some of these activities to help entice them to join the program, or just in general. So maybe if you want to use some of these activities as a resource for your classroom, and you may have students that have not enrolled in Mesa, they are open to the public. So our STEM series, please invite, whomever would be interested to come onto our STEM series. The big event that we have upcoming here very shortly is our College and Career Pathways Conference. And that is going to be held November 30th to December 3rd. So it's a Tuesday through a Friday. Each day there's going to be 3 different sessions, one at 2 o'clock, one at 4 o'clock, and one at 6 o'clock. And a registration is open now. It is available to all students, middle school and high school, and everything will be done virtually. So in total, there will be an opportunity for about 20 to 24 different sessions that students can attend. They'll navigate it the same as they would a traditional conference. They just get to kind of pick and choose their session that they would like to go. What to expect from the conference is I'm signing up presenters. They're getting signed up actually now. And we'll release the full layout or the final schedule of who will be when on November the 22nd. But our state universities will be our main presenters, and they will go through basically virtual field trips. We will also have different things on career preparedness. There will be stuff appropriate for both middle and high school students, financing for college, standardized tests, different things there. The evening sessions, we are focusing on sessions that family would like to jump in on, where one will be a FAFSA paying for college session. One will be a college fair session, just like a come one, come all kind of college fair session. And then the third will be on a career inventory. So those are, more in the evening. If they have any, again, any parents that may want to hop on with them, those are kind of the more appropriate sessions. Well, all sessions family can jump in on, but those are, they were scheduled at a time specifically to allow for, family members to participate if they would like on that session. Also upcoming is our Mesa's Big Give. So we started this last year, and we're going to continue with it because it was an amazing initiative to just kind of gather lots of different community service projects that were done, or service learning projects that were done throughout our state. So just kind of keep that in mind. It'll run the entire month of December. So any service learning that you do, that your students do, they could get credit for it. Or if you're doing anything as a club, just tracking. So if you're able to just go and pop on the website just to see, the requirements for tracking, we'd love to count and recognize your projects that you guys are doing. In particular, as projects get submitted, I get to see them live when they get submitted. If there's, like a really captivating project, or there's something that's going on at one of your schools, send me or send your coordinator just a note of what you're up to. And we'd love to highlight you on our social media, just so the entire month of December, we'll be blasting out different highlights of our programs, of things that are going on. So just kind of using that as our service learning commitment. And then the last kind of Mesa for Everyone activity here in the fall is the rules are out now. This is our second year that we would have a Towering Above Engineering Challenge. And so it's an online virtual competition, basically a tower building competition. And so the requirements are pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. The hard part is getting them to complete the template and actually submit, properly. But essentially the concept is students will work on their own. And I say on their own now that you guys are live or back in person school, you guys, are able to complete this project as a school project or as a class project or as a Mesa time, but they would have to submit individually. So, if you want to moderate them and help them, or like they want to do their towers like in a Mesa time, but they would have to submit individual submissions, to be considered, for the awards. But submissions are due back December the 7th. So there's still a few weeks to participate if you're interested. We will do interviews with our finalists, and then we will provide awards and all that other good stuff for all of our participants of our Tower Challenge. This challenge is open to only Mesa students, but by saying that, this could be a good recruitment opportunity, and that getting them to join Mesa to be able to do the challenge, because the challenge is really fun. I think once students see other kids building towers, they'll want to jump in on it. So it'd be a great opportunity to get them to recruit and submit to be part of Mesa. These are some of our spring activities that are for our Mesa students. I'm going to jump into Mesa Day and Mesa USA in just a minute. Excuse me, but I want to highlight our Buddies program. Our Buddies program, the applications are out now. And for anyone that is interested in submitting for a Mesa Buddies program, as a reminder, applications are due back November the 22nd. So that's 10 days from now. So what that is, it's a high school to an elementary mentorship program. So you go on the site and check out all the details. If you are interested in being a Mesa Buddies site, because it is a pretty hefty commitment on top of being regular Mesa advisor, there is an additional stipend that is provided. In addition, we provide curriculum, we provide supplies, but it is a 10 lesson commitment where you will work with an elementary school. We do have online and in-person curricula or guidebooks, you know, pathways, whatever your district is in right now, so you can choose your path. But if you're interested, please look into that. That application may take a little bit of time to complete, and you may need to find, you know, partner elementary schools or whatnot. But those applications are due back again, November the 22nd. And then these are just planned spring events that we talked about them possibly at PD1, but just kind of throwing them out there as a remind that things are on track for an in-person legislative field trip. Probably in February, legislative event, and our loyalty award information for high schools has all been changed from 2021 graduates to now 2022. So the flyer that's uploaded is for this current seniors. The deadlines that are uploaded on the website are for this current seniors and whatnot. So just a note there that if you are a high school advisor, just kind of take a peek at the site just so you're aware of the different loyalty award benchmarks and deadlines. Oh, not yet. So with that being said, are there any questions on the different statewide events that I covered? Being that we were all together, I want to take the opportunity to kind of touch base on a lot of important things before we switch focus to our Mesa Day and our Mesa USA events. Oh, I apologize. There was a question, which I'm assuming was for our college and career pathways when I was talking about that. Those sessions happen at those times each of those days, correct? So during the College and Career Pathways Conference, each day, there will be a session at 2 p.m. where there'll be 2 workshops going on. At 4 p.m., there will be 2 workshops going on. And then at 6 p.m., there will be a different session. So, you know, students, once they sign up for the conference, they can attend any session they're able to or any session that they want. A lot of it might be a time constraint. Like for instance, if they have athletics after school, they may only be able to attend an evening session. Or if they have, we intentionally scheduled sessions like at 2 o'clock, maybe for those that cannot do. My computer just blipped out there on the screen sharing.
We see you hear you, Anita, but you're not sharing a screen right now.
Yeah, no, my second screen blipped out on me for a second. I'll put it back up when I share the next portion. Thank you for letting me know that. But yeah, I was mentioning for the session, for that 2 o'clock time frame, it was reported back, you know, that students may not be able to log on at home or after school or whatnot. So for that 2 o'clock session, even partly what we were envisioning was, if as a teacher, you're maybe able to arrange for your students to maybe come to your classroom, to come to a lab, or possibly even just to have like a main broadcast to 20 people sitting in a classroom. And then we'd be able to count attendance for everybody that was in that session. So like if you as a teacher want to organize a group showing of any of those sessions, like from that 2 to 3 o'clock time frame, or any of those time frames, that is allowable and encouraged. But we knew that some were not able to attend when school was released. So we scheduled some intentionally during the school day, if that was easier to arrange leave for possibly some students to kind of watch that last part of the day. So we're trying some new things differently on scheduling based upon what we had heard back. Okay. Any other questions on the conference or anything else that I had covered at that point? Okay, well then from there, I am going to go into what you guys have been waiting for. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. And what I'm going to share with you guys is just the navigation as to how to find some of the information that I'm talking about. So the first event that I'm going to cover is our Mesa Day event. So our Mesa Day, we have 2 statewide competitions in the spring. They're scheduled concurrently. So our Mesa USA is April 6th, and our Mesa Day event is April 7th and 8th. For some traveling schools, so they can combine transportation and logistics. It was just easier for sub leave that way. But these are 2 separate events. So as a teacher, or as a school, you do have an option to participate in both, participate in one, participate in neither, which I hope not. But those are the different options of the timing. And even though Mesa Day is still going to be called Mesa Day, it is actually being held over a period of 2 days just to allow for distancing requirements and, shifting and whatnot. So for information on Mesa Day, if you haven't already had a chance to explore, you would go to our nmmesa.org website, events, upcoming events. And these are all the information for all the programs I just quickly went over. But in particular, we are going to go and talk about Mesa Day right now. So you're going to go on to Mesa Day Competition 2022. And here's all the information you will need for Mesa Day. This is also the location when it comes time to register. There'll be a red register button here. So just kind of keep in mind that this is where you would find anything related for our Mesa Day competition. What I'm going to go over now is our handbook. And so our handbook is here in 2 places, but it's right here.
Anita, this is Kim. I have a quick question from the comment first, or to me. Is it possible to attend without participating? And I think that I'm unsure about if someone wants to clarify maybe what that means, or if you know what event that means.
Like if you want to attend without competing, but just to watch. And that event right now, right now the event is not really, because of capacity restrictions and the way the events work, there is not much that's going to be open to the public. So that would be a no on, for the most part, unless there was something else, some other task or role that you had going on at those events. We'd have to talk offline, I guess, for that, but
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Okay.
Anita?
So yes.
Sorry. Okay. So I did get a direct message. Did you cover, I know you went over all of the professional development opportunities that we had early on. And did you mention Beyond and how advisors might be able to get that?
So for the Beyond, they would have had to have completed the contract early in the fall. So we have already distributed the licenses, and that deadline was a couple months ago for that. That was part of our Fall Pathways program. So going forward, if the programs are successful, and we'll see kind of where we're at on all those and how the licensing worked and if they were used, we'll look to see to continue that again in the spring. But all the licenses that were requested have been distributed already.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So going into the handbook, this is the place for all logistics. Please read through this in entirety if you're planning to attend or thinking about attending. Even though it may look the same as previous years, there are some subtle differences that are important differences. So please read through it just for, just so that if there's any rule or, any information that you may need. The event will be in Albuquerque. It is meant to be an in-person event right now. If there happens to be a major state shutdown, we will kind of evaluate that. But for the most part, it is planned to still be in person as of being in April 7th to 8th. So at our event, we will have 4 on-site events and we'll have 1 prepared design. Again, what that means is on-site means there's no preparation required. They just come and do the event on-site. And the prepared design means that they prepare something in advance, and they have to come with that to be able to compete. Okay. So team makeup is each team can have 2 to 4 students on there. So I would advise to have full teams of 4 students. Like if you're planning ahead, allowing or anticipating some drops or, anything on there. But each team can have up to 4 students on there. Our alternate policy, because knowing that there probably may be some changes. And again, you do not have to name your team until registration. So I'm talking about this between now and next March or whatever your team to be decided. But once you actually register your team or register, you're allowed to have 4 named alternates that can be used for any of your teams, just like 4 subs. And anybody that is registered, can be kind of moved around there. So hopefully that'll help if, students have to be out due to quarantine or whatnot. But I would highly suggest taking advantage of filling your teams up to capacity and also filling your alternates up to capacity, just to allow like subs, in the event of something to happen. Okay. To be able to come to Mesa Day, this is really important, is that all students need to have an A1 and an A2 submitted on file by the registration deadline, which is March 11th. That's kind of the deadline for Mesa Day. So kind of keep that in mind, that if you have students that want to participate, they have to have all their paperwork in by March 11th. Now, I know right now MIMS is in progress, but by that means either a hard copy or, through our website, submitting an electronic form through our website, that also is counted as in. So just has to be submitted by the registration deadline if they want to participate. So if you have students that are coming and participating all year, I know it's easy to forget about that paperwork requirement, but that's a really important component there. The number of teams you can bring to our Mesa Day competition is based upon the number of profiles that we have on record. That's students that have their A1 and their A2 in. This is another reason why it's really important to get your paperwork in. If you have a large program, and we don't know you have a large program because you don't have any paperwork in, you're only going to be allowed to bring, lower number of students. So the bigger your program is, the more teams that you're going to be allowed to bring to Mesa Day. Okay, so and when it says profiles, that means A1s and A2s, basically eligible students. If you have 30 or less, you're able to bring 2 teams. If you have between 31 and 69 students, you're able to bring 4 teams. And if you have anything over 70, you're able to bring 60 teams. 60 teams, 6 teams, not 60. See if anyone else is paying attention. I threw it out there. Let me see if anyone else is paying attention. Excuse me. There's just some other information here. This is our current COVID policy. Again, if needed, based upon like PED or like statewide mandates, we'll work on that. But as of right now, we are staying the course and going forward in person, handling, individual students. They may have to be out because of quarantine by replacing them with alternates, etc. We don't have the capacity to have like a makeup competition, or if we do go virtual, it's converting everything virtual. So there's not, if like a team has to be out or like all your, a student individual school, unfortunately, they just will not be able to attend the live in-person part. But for instance, the prepared design portion is submitted ahead of time and can be submitted virtually. Like the students would be able to still get credit for, the other competition credit by submitting for the prepared design, even if for whatever reason they're unable to make the live event due to something going on. But we're staying the course here for the most part, that by April, as of right now, looking at what's here now, looking at what we're expecting, we're still going forward with an in-person, event for April. Okay.
And Anita, this is Kim. There's 2 comments in the chat. I think you hit one. Is there a Mesa virtual day option if we cannot go in person? Currently,
No, there is not. No, there is not.
Okay. And
as
then
of right now,
from Sherry Osgood is, do students choose the on-site event, or do I assign them to one, or do they get assigned when they get there?
I'll get into a little bit of that later. I did see that one. I'll get into that when I talk about the team events that we have. I'll answer that one if that's okay. Put that on the parking lot.
Got it.
And then I did see the last two about are students still able to submit an A1 and A2s for eligibility? Oh, it's definitely not too late. You can always enroll in Mesa at any time throughout the year. Like there is not a deadline for enrolling in Mesa. You can submit your paperwork to be a Mesa student anytime throughout the year. The deadlines that we have for submitting paperwork are particular per event. Like for instance, we had a recent deadline that determined activity checks and the t-shirts, but they can still join Mesa after the fact. They just weren't counted in that first batch and won't get a t-shirt. We have this next deadline, which was the March the 11th. That's a deadline if they want to participate in Mesa Day that you have up until then to recruit students and get student paperwork in between now and March 11th, if they want to participate in Mesa Day. If there's a student that comes on board and still wants to join Mesa in April, they're more than welcome. They just are not eligible to participate in Mesa Day. And that student number will also not help count towards your number of teams that you're allowed. Okay. So going forward, the rest of the handbook, does kind of goes through the point structure, goes through awards, disqualification. Some important things with travel logistics. Actually, when we had our last planned in-person Mesa Day was 2 years ago. And so that year we did actually work really hard to obtain particular grant funding for meals and for different things. And so luckily a lot of that funding, some of that funding was still able to be rolled over. So we are able to provide a meal to all participating students and advisors. And I say a meal because depending upon when you compete, you'll take up the offer of that one meal. The plan for that is we will be partnering with some local eatery to be determined, where you could call ahead and just on your own, you would take like a voucher to get it covered, just because we're going to have teams shifting in and out and eating at different times that you'll be able to just kind of pick up your own food for all of your competing students. Okay. When I get into the agenda, I'll go a little bit more, it'll help make a little bit more sense on the agenda shifts. But again, as I mentioned, our Mesa Day event is happening over 2 days. So 2 days with 4 possible shifts just to keep the numbers low. So basically us as staff, we're going to be repeating the same event 4 times and just collecting scores. And so you'll just come in, do your thing, do your competition, and then you'll leave. And so we'll continue just repetition, just getting everybody done through their events, and then we'll announce the awards at the end of the week. There is no event that requires like a comparison to each other. It's just you compete, you get your score for your performance, and that tallies into the overall effect. When you're registering, you do have the option to list your preference of shifting time. But I want to give a big disclaimer on that, in that we will try to accommodate as best as able, but we do have to have even distribution. So for instance, if all of you request the AM shift on the 7th, we cannot accommodate everybody on the AM shift on the 7th. And we will give, priority for different reasons. Some being if like schools are bus pooling together, coming from far distances, and they're bus pooling and they need to be in the same shift for obvious reasons, they will be assigned the same shift together. If schools are coming from a considerable travel distance and want to avoid lodging, an afternoon shift may be ideal for them. They can travel in the morning and travel afterwards, and that would be given a priority. If students are coming in and doing the Mesa Usa event on the 6th, a priority might be given for them to compete right away to be able to get home. So those are just some examples, but during registration, we'll ask you your preference and also ask for information, and we'll try as best as possible to schedule you in your preferred shift. But that's how it's kind of running. It's the same thing 4 times. Okay. And then again, the registration. So when I say registration and then pre-register. So I know that can be a little confusing, especially if you're new to Mesa. So essentially, event registration, this is the deadline to kind of write in bold and red in your calendar, save the date, March 11th at 5 p.m. This is the deadline for all things Mesa Day. So at that time, you're going to register your team. You're going to let us know all your event preferences. You're going to let us know your students that are going to be participating. You're going to tell us, what their event they're going to do. And then you're going to upload anything needed for the prepared design. So So you'll go ahead and that's what will happen during registration. So this is kind of, kind of have everything together, ready to upload by the registration deadline. With that being said, the registration will be open since February, but just because it's open doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it, because again, when you register, you have to upload the prepared design materials, and those will probably not be ready in February. So you don't register until you have your team stuff all together. And then you just need to register by March 11th at 5 p.m. Okay. And all this is detailed there. I won't go over into too much detail, but I would highly suggest, again, reading the handbook and reading this really in detail a little bit before the 11th. Give yourself some time before the 11th just to refresh your memory on what has to be included into registration. And I did see some questions about the different events. We're going to get in the events in just a minute. So I didn't ignore your comments in the chat. So this is what the general agenda will look like. Keep in mind that, again, this agenda will repeat for 2 days in a row. So when you register, you will choose timing wise, whether you want to come in shift 1, which is the AM shift on day 1, shift 2, which is the PM shift on day 1, shift 3, which is the AM shift on day 2, or shift 4, which is the PM shift. And it'll be detailed out in the registration, but you basically pick your chunk of time. When you compete for Mesa Day, you're obligated for about 4 hours of time, give or take, 8 to 12 or 1 to 5. Those are the different options. And so when you get assigned a time, so again, the deadline is the 11th to register for the event. By that Monday, I'll have the shift assignments out to you, so you'll know exactly when you're competing, so you can make the final arrangements for school, knowing when you guys have to be out. But every shift will look exactly the same. It'll just happen 4 times. So when you get there, we'll have a brief check-in, drop-off. We will do our events, do our competing, check out your prototype, and then you'll be dismissed. And then depending upon what shift you're in, you'll have your lunch voucher when you register, and you can go pick up your meal and then be on your way, whether that be to another event or travel home or whatever that may be. But you, again, just for spacing and for guidelines, can't hang out at the facility. So for instance, if you're like the morning shift, we're going to have to kick everybody out because we have to get everything shifted over and cleaned and updated for the second shift, just to kind of keep our group small. All of our events, along with that note, we are reserving the entire facility. But say, for instance, when we have an event, making sure that there's enough tables in there to be adequately spaced apart, all the requirements that are currently in place, we were making arrangements for also at the day of the event. Okay. Now, there was a question on event assignments. And so when I get into, now that I'm going into the different events, this is where all the good stuff happens. So when you pick out your team is 4, I'm going to say 4 students, because that is the recommended to get the full points. You want to have somebody participating in every event. So an ideal team is 4 students, and you pick what they will compete in. So you assign your teams. So say you have a team of Anita, Kim, Ling, and Shandina, because I see it. Those are our 4 staff members I see on my media screen. So we're all on one team together. As a teacher, you will decide that Anita is going to do math, Kim's going to do engineering, Shandina is going to do science, and Ling is going to do art. And that is part of your registration, because we need to know what kids are going to be assigned to what event. So you determine, their initial events that they're going to be in, because ideally you're putting students in that event that have that skill set for that event. You want to put somebody in that event that might like science, or that might like the art event, or that might like the math event, that will help you in there. That is the ideal makeup of a team. So when you are designing your teams, it is also suggested that you design not necessarily on who's besties with each other, but who will work well together and who has the skill sets that you need to be able to bring to that team. The one thing that all the team members do together is the prepared design, and they will work on that together, and they will submit that together in advance. But beyond that, the other on-site events, they are done individually. So when they show up at Mesa Day, everybody will disperse to their event site at the same time. So I will go do my event, Kim will do her event, Shandina will do her event, and Ling will do her event, all at the same time concurrently. So one person doing each event. Okay. Is there any questions on that and about how that will work? Kind of, I think in the description, I called it like a Mesa medley, like everybody does their part for their overall team score. Okay. So again, in the handbook here, for the on-site events, this is all you get. So, our theme is Invention Education, and you can read through here, but I am really excited for the on-site events that we're going to have, for this year. So our on-site science event is titled Invention Station Quest. So pretty much what they will, need to know in advance, or would be helpful to know in advance, is someone who is science-minded, anything major inventors and major inventions. And, those would be stuff that's expected to be known like through the standards, the science standards. Like if there's a major concept that's supposed to be covered in 7th grade, then that would probably be what that would be the content that we're working at. We're working at grade level content for our science event. So once they get into that event, they'll get all the information that they need, all the instructions. Don't need to know anything else beyond that besides reporting. For the on-site engineering event, title is A Music in Motion Machine. The student will be building a Rube Goldberg reaction machine, and to do different tasks that will be given the day of. But for this event, I would highly suggest recruiting a student that is good at building and likes building and is creative, and to kind of engage for this event. Our on-site math event, the problems and the information that will be presented will be based around New Mexico math. So like using like the math problems of, our New Mexico originator, indigenous communities, our early settlers, and, kind of just going into scenario-based problem solving math. So for instance, some examples on here is get ready to identify patterns in weaving or be challenged with math that takes you up into a hot air balloon. So basically math problems, hands-on math problems, scenarios, word problems based around, stuff that is relevant here to New Mexico. So for this team, I would suggest somebody that is good with who likes math. Our on-site art achievement, they'll be going into modeling. So understanding how important modeling in art is when you're prototyping. So again, artistic skill is welcome and encouraged, but it is not required. So those are our different on-site events that we have. Okay, and then we're getting into a prepared design. So on these events, there's a question in the chat. Can a team of 4 participate on the April 7th, 8th day if they don't do a prepared design? Quick answer is yes. So the rules are, again, say you're allowed 2 teams, 4 teams, or 6 teams. To be allowed to have an additional team, you need to have a full first team. Like for instance, if you were allowed 2 teams and you want to bring 2 teams to Mesa Day, you cannot bring 2 teams unless you have a full first team. That means all 4 events need to be staffed and you need to have submitted a prepared design. So if you do not want to bring a prepared design, you are only allowed 1 team ever, no matter the size of your program, if you don't want to do a prepared design. If you want to actually bring multiple teams to Mesa Day and score lots of points, ideally for the overall, you would need to do that prepared design component to bring an additional team 2, team 3, team 4, team 5, etc. Okay, so that is how that works. So the prepared design is a little extra challenge, but again, that's like your ticket to bringing additional teams. So, and there was another question, are materials provided for the art achievement? Yes, all materials are provided for all on-site events. So for the on-site events, you need to bring nothing but the student, except for the engineering event. So the engineering event, and it details out in here. Excuse me, for the engineering event, you will need to bring either like 1 bag, your choice of bag, up to 1 yard max, or a crate of clean, highlighted, bolded, underlined, clean, recyclable materials to use in their creative builds. What would happen if a team doesn't bring? Well, then they will not have as many materials to play with. There will be some available for use, but they will probably be at a disadvantage in that they will not have a lot of materials to play with. So highly suggested to gather some recyclables between now and March. things that are marked now in April that will be good for Rube Goldberg machine. Clean, 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 clean recyclable materials there. But other than that, everything is provided for the on-sites. The only thing they need to show up with to the competition itself is their bag of clean recyclable for the on-sites, and then their actual prototype for the Prepared Design Challenge, okay? So as I'm going into this Prepared Design Challenge, I'm gonna, with our time constraints that we have, we still have another competition that we have to get into here. I'm gonna go through and I'll try to answer questions as best as I can. But I'm gonna skim over some parts. If you guys can please make sure to read through the duration of the rules. I'll go over the overview of things on here to get the general idea. But please read through all the details of the event in entirety, okay? So the Prepared Design Challenge, we're calling it the Idea Challenge, is it's pairing invention education with human-centered design. So again, we just had a recent session was on human-centered design and invention education. If you missed it, I would suggest possibly looking at the recording to kind of catch up on some activities you can use to help, work with your students on preparing them in that human-centered design process. This event does follow a required, I don't want to say theme, just a requirement for the topic of prototype or solution. It's a solution for educators. So student teams will use the human-centered design and invention education to design a prototype solution for educators. So that's the general requirement for the event. As part of the event, student teams will create a user profile, an actual prototype itself, and they'll have to create a project video. Two things are submitted in advance, the profile and the video. The prototype, there'll be a couple questions on it submitted in advance as part of the profile, but you do need to bring this with you. The majority of the scoring for that happens the day of the competition, okay? So, but again, your ticket in during registration, if you want to have a prepared design team, these have to be done in advance. So by March, this project has to be done or completed to be able to upload the profile and the video to registration to be able to go. So this is all the advanced stuff, prepared design. Again, each section in this details has a different rubric. They have different rules as far as all the details and all the specs per section. For a prototype, this is a little different than last year's event, being that it was virtual and that it wasn't required to work. This time it is required to work. And the main part of the prototype is required to have a machine as the main component of their design, meaning your prototype has to do something with mechanical operation. So whatever the solution is, it has to do something and it has to work the day of the competition by a simple machine, by whatever, but it does have to be a working prototype. Okay. Again, I already went through what had to be submitted in advance, what will be brought to the event. This section here details how the documents have to be saved. This is very important because last year, if a document is not able to be graded, not able to be opened, not able to be viewed, I will try, but it won't be graded and will be discarded because it has to be saved and submitted a certain way to ensure that we're able to grade and score everything. Okay. These sections will detail out all the requirements of what goes into the profile, what goes into the video, and what goes into the prototype scoring. Okay, again, the rules of the prototype, it's required to work. Any materials in the prototype can't be messy. I think we're going to be at an indoor facility, so can't be damaging, can't be harmful, can't be dangerous, can't like shoot fireballs. I don't know what else can't, but just kind of, think about that. Those are just some other just additional rules for the prototype, just kind of those things that you think would be common sense, but you have to put in writing because somewhere along the way, someone didn't. So those are those kind of rules in there. And then just the guidelines for the video are in there. And again, submission requirements about how to submit the video. For scoring, the only rubrics that are provided in advance about exact details about scoring are here for the prepared design, and all the rubrics are here in the handbook. And I would highly suggest looking over those because oftentimes we get submitted something and it has absolutely nothing to do with what's being graded. And although it might be a great piece of work that is submitted, if it doesn't align with our rubric or what we're grading, they won't receive a good score. Okay, so so those are the basics of our prepared design. So yes, to Ms. Richmond, the solution that will help educators has to be a working mechanical device, correct? And the next question was the prototype has to be working before so that it is in the video. If you're still working on the final kinks of your prototype, again, if you look at the video rubric, or when you get a chance to look at the video rubric, there is a section that you should share your prototype, be able to describe it. But if you're still working on some final kinks, really the final inspection is the day of the competition that it has to be working. So, you know, by the prototype should be in enough status and enough development to be able to be shared in the video and to be able to be shared in the user profile. You have to look through, you know, what it's saying. It asks for a picture of it. It asks for different descriptions of it. So if it's not like near completion or basic, you know, completion, you're not going to be able to answer some of those questions. But the actual testing of if it's working will happen the day of the event. Okay. So that is our Mesa Day event. Any quick general questions before I hop on over to Mesa USA? So I'm really excited for this year's event. I know we've been, you know, just with virtual and then a year off. So we're excited to be back in person. I think these events are going to be fun. They're going to be engaging, just, you know, really exciting for our students. So we're excited for this year. Okay. So with that, I'm going to hop over from Mesa Day. Okay. Oh, so there is a question that I'm sorry, not having done this before, do we need to fundraise for materials? So how to pay for the materials for the event? The only materials that you would need for is the prepared design materials, possibly, if that's what I'm getting at. And because other ones are recyclable or like reusable. So with that, you do have your activity funds that, you know, were distributed. That's a possibility, you know, to help pay for some of those materials. The activity funds that were distributed, you know, you could use that funding to help pay for some of those materials, possibly get with your regional coordinator for support if need be. But I don't know, hopefully they're not too expensive, you know, trying to get, you know, doesn't have to be anything super pricey, but beyond that, you could fundraise if you'd like, but for the most part, you know, those activity funds, this is something that they could be intended for or used for. So with that, I'm jumping to our Mesa USA event. And again, how do you find it? On our website, go to events, upcoming events. And you come here to our Mesa USA state competition. And so there was one last question on here about by recyclables. Do you mean cardboard and water bottles or like toys that can be reused? Yeah. Oh, Ms. Kim answered that. So yes, plastic containers, cardboard, cereal boxes. So they'll be building, they don't know what the requirements are. So if they do bring something whole, they may have to take it apart to be able to use parts of it. So just general recyclable materials. Okay, so getting to our state competition. So again, Mesa USA, for those that are, you know, maybe new, we do have a state competition. That is our Mesa USA. It's our qualifier. So the winner of our state competition does go on to compete in our national engineering design competition. So the competition is the same at both the state and the national levels for the most part, being that it's the qualifier event. And again, it's held, you know, around the same time frame, maybe same place, but it is a totally different event than Mesa Day. So you can, again, choose to participate in one, choose to participate in both, mix and match, whatever. And the requirements are different for both. The themes are different for both. The prototype requirements are different for both. So please read through all the rules, you know, for both of those events to see what you want to participate in. Okay. So again, Mesa USA. Excuse me. There's two documents for Mesa USA that are really important. One is the handbook, and that is the national handbook. That's it's put out by the national committee, and that will be all the rules and regulations for the event. And then the adjoining part is the logistics guide. That is just what is New Mexico specific. Like that is our agenda, our information, things like that. And again, they're all here on this website here. The first thing I'm going to review quickly is our logistics guide. And again, this tells the date, the place, how a team is designed, you know, the different events that you're participating in. So if you are participating in Mesa USA, this is different in that this is a full team project. So all team works together, all 4 members work together on all parts of the event, and they all 4 come and present together. Like this is all the events are done together. So the requirements for this, the theme for Mesa USA is they would design a prototype for designing for equity in your community. So again, the theme is different. And also the requirements for the prototype is different. The requirement for this is that teams must use the coding component as the main component of the design. And it must be a community-centered issue for their project. So by coding component, meaning a microprocessor, a web page, an app design, but it has to include coding as the main part. So this could be Arduino, this could be Microbit, this could be Circuit Playground Express. Those are the items that we'll be providing training on. It could also include Raspberry Pi. It could also include, you know, so sorry about that. It will also include, you know, any other hardware that you may have access to that I'm not mentioning or thinking of, but it just has to have a coding component. We opened it up. Right now, just FYI, there is a shortage, of course there is, on coding components and chips and all that other good stuff. However, though, in our state last year, we did, you know, for attending the trainings, we gave out materials, and we will also do that again. I don't know if it was, I was thinking kind of ahead, thinking ahead for 2 years. So last year I did order a lot of materials. So thankfully and luckily for all of our state trainings, I have the materials already for our trainings that we are planning to go in January. So we're not affected by the shortage that we already have. I have Arduino processors, those microbits, if those are what want to be used. If you want additional besides, you know, the one you'll get for training or whatnot, you know, those might be a little bit more difficult to obtain, but we can work with you on those things. But just, but that's why opening it up to all coding components kind of works around that, in that, you know, designing a web page or designing an app doesn't require any hardware at all. You know, so there are some workarounds to some of those if we're having material requirements. But hopefully, even if you're a new teacher, that maybe your school would have a stockpile of material that we provided in the past. Maybe your regional coordinator could also assist with additional materials, some of these technical components, sensors, and boards, etc., for that event. But this event is 4-part, and all parts have to be completed to participate in Mesa USA. It is the, did I forget a part? The design brief, the technical presentation interview, the poster and symposium, and there should be a section on the pitch, which I don't know if I deleted that in the final thing, just now that I'm opening this. I don't know what I did there, but the 4th part is the pitch, and I'm just realizing that I may have deleted something. I don't know what happened there, but I will fix that. The 4th part is the prototype pitch. That is a requirement of Mesa USA. For this, teams are composed of 4 students. Keep in mind that if you're registering for Mesa USA, the deadline is different. It's close, so it could be confusing, but it was different intentional because for teachers that are doing both, it at least gives a little bit of attention. So the deadline for Mesa USA is March the 9th, and the deadline for Mesa Day is March the 11th. So if you are participating in Mesa USA, the deadline for Mesa USA is March the 9th to get all of your materials in for that day. Okay. The number of teams that you can bring for Mesa USA is determined here. If you have less than 20 profiles, you're only allowed 1 team. And if you have over 21 profiles, you're allowed to bring up to 3 teams. There. Goes again into the awards, kind of very similar to the other handbook, talks about disqualification, etc. And then it also details out the registration process for Mesa USA. So again, this deadline is the 9th. Some stuff is the same. You'll provide team information, but you'll also will need to upload team submittals. So like the design brief is submitted in advance, the academic poster, all that has to happen during registration. And I'll go over the events in just a second, but this is just the logistics portion. Other things that are different for Mesa USA, for our Mesa USA participants, we are providing lodging. So again, this was funding that we had collected just from different grants or donations a couple of years back, and that we're able to use again for our Mesa USA students, because say they would come in on the 6th, they would require them an overnight stay for that school to then stay and compete in Mesa Day. So if you are participating in Mesa USA and you are traveling more than 45 minutes away, you will be provided a lodging stipend. Given requirements, how to claim it is here included. There will also be a meal provided. Again, kind of same general requirements about the meal. And then additionally, it talks about the trainings. We will be having trainings starting January, February, so keep an eye out for those on Arduino, microbit, app development, web page development. So to kind of help you guys, kind of prepare for those. Those trainings are teacher trainings. So if you want to share those with your students, you are more than welcome to share them with your students after they are archived and recorded, but the actual live trainings will be only done to the teachers. As we get closer to the event, we tried a help desk for the first time last year. That wasn't extremely successful. So we're going to modify that a little bit, and we'll have closer to the Mesa USA event, we will have a help desk, a technical help desk, just for a few hours, couple hours each week leading up to Mesa Day, for any technical questions that may occur or may come up. And we are providing additional training for Mesa USA because it's the event that requires more training in the sense of technical stuff. So that's a little bit of the difference there. In this logistics guide gives a general agenda for the day, but ultimately this final agenda depends upon the number of teams that we have. So right now the day is set to run from 8 to 5. With that being said, it is shifted very much, like, again, trying to keep in mind groups and numbers and whatnot, that once you register, you'll be assigned your competition time in your group, and you're only required to be there for your competition time for your group. So you don't necessarily have to be there the whole 8 to 5 day, or given the number of teams that we get, this time may shorten depending upon the number of teams that actually participate in Mesa USA. But again, you will not be obligated to be there the entire 8 to 5 day. It will be shifted out, and you are only required to be there the time that you were assigned to compete. Okay. So those are the logistics. Any question on the logistics for Mesa USA? Okay. Getting into some of the technicalities here. So again, the handbook is the place to go for the rules, and the guidebook is the place to go for like other stuff, like agendas and team and whatnot. So here it'll again go into the introduction for the event, basic requirements, and the competition components. And here the 4 are magically listed. For the life of me, I don't know what I did that I missed. I don't know. But again, the 4 requirements to compete in Mesa USA are the design brief, the technical interview, the poster and symposium, and the prototype pitch. What they are briefly is the design brief is submitted at registration. We do have a template for that is required to be used. And it's, it takes the place of, like a written paper or whatnot. It's just a template to provide information that we need in advance. The technical presentation interview will happen live the day of the event. And that is where the students will interview with a panel of judges on the prototype functionality, on different things there. But this is where they will actually have the prototype, the working prototype, and they will share it with the judges. And this happens live at the event. The poster is going to be submitted in advance. So this is something that will be graded in advance. Students you are welcome if you want to print out a poster, if you want to use that poster as part of your technical interview, but there will be no grading on site for the posters. So for teams that have done Mesa USA before, this is a big change in that they don't actually have to have a live poster. This would just for ease of grading and also for the shifting, just so we won't have all posters all at one time. So we're going to do all the posters in advance grading wise, and you're able to bring it if you'd like to use in your technical interview. And then the last part is the prototype pitch. And again, the prototype pitch is different than the technical presentation. It is also a presentation, but it's a different focus, different style. It's just different, but this happens live. This is something else that happens live to a panel of judges. Okay. So in this handbook here, this talks about all the different rules, talks about all the different sections of the brief, all the different sections, examples, how to submit it. And actually, just for note here, this handbook here has information when it says, as a disclaimer, this handbook was left as is. This is our national handbook. So when it talks about submitting by June 3rd, this is the national handbook for the national competition. This is where a case in where the logistics guide overrules the handbook, in that for our state competition, the deadlines that are given in our logistics guide are the ones that matter for our state competition. So I hope I said that, I hope that wasn't too confusing. But so like our state competition is April 6th. You need to follow the deadline of submittal by March 9th and the instructions for submittal by March 9th for our state competition. If you make it to nationals, these rules apply, but the deadlines for submittal are located in our logistics guide for our state competition. Okay. The rest of the handbook is, again, pretty similar, goes into the rules for the technical presentation, the interview, what to look for, the same for the poster. I'm not going to go through all the details for all these events as they're here. The rest of the handbook, it also provides the templates. So if you go down here, again, it'll provide all the templates as to what is graded and what you're graded on. So you can prepare your presentations or your events accordingly down in here for the different rubrics. At the end of the handbook is the design brief, just for you to see, I guess, if you want to see what there is. But to make it easy typable, on the Mesa USA webpage, the template for the design brief is here in both Google Docs and Microsoft Word to actually type in when you're getting ready to submit. And there is a poster template available if you want to use that. You're not required to, but it is available for use if you want to use a template providing for the poster. Okay. So this is where the handbook or the webpage comes in handy. And then to answer a question in the chat is they can create an app instead of using a microprocessor. So yes, that is correct. So again, the requirement for this year is that it has to have a coding component as the main part of the design. So if your solution requires an app, or if that's where your solution is going, yes, you can use that in place of a microprocessor. But for those of you that were not able to join us on the training today, one of the things I reiterated was when you're talking about human-centered design or you're planning, if you look through the rubric is designed to be based upon the client and the steps and the research you're taking for the client. So I think it's very easy to get caught up into thinking about the end product first and the final prototype and already what that's going to look like, versus designing from the front end, interviewing a client, designing for an actual need of the client, et cetera, and building your way up. So maybe an app is the best idea or the best solution for a client, and maybe it is not. So that's something to be determined once you determine your client and who you're going to design for. Is there any questions related to Mesa USA? Okay. I went over a lot of information in a very short amount of time, comparatively. Probably maybe to you might be a long amount of time. But is there any additional questions on anything that I went over? Okay. Well, then going forward here, the next part, so part 2, is from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We'll take a short break until get back on at 5. And then I will review the part for the next session. But I will, before we leave, let me go ahead and stop my share here. If anybody is not coming back to the second, okay. If anybody is not coming back to the second part, the regional meeting part, go ahead and complete the survey now. Or well, you can complete the survey now and then just mark if you're planning to attend. I will check attendance for the next session, but if you want to go ahead and complete the attendance survey and the stipend link, you can go ahead and complete that now, or I'll also make it available at the end of next session. I did put the QR code up, and give me a second. I will also get the just the link is up in the chat box. But with that, you can go ahead and take it. You don't have to log out if you don't want. You can just turn off your cameras, turn off your microphones, and we will see you all back here at 5. So you can either complete your attendance link and survey now, or you can do it later on. It's up to you.
Anita, you said Mesa Day was on the 7th and the 8th, and I saw the schedule for the 7th. What exactly will be happening on the 8th?
The same thing, just a repeat.
So I'm just thinking if I bring 2 different groups of kids, like one for Mesa Day and then, or one for Mesa USA and then one for Mesa Day, would we have to stay all 3 days?
No.
6, 7,
So,
8?
so that's an example if you were going to bring kids. So your Mesa Day would be on the 6th. When you register for Mesa Day, you would request to be probably in that either that first or that second shift, your preference, on the 7th. And the reason being is that you have a Mesa USA team. So you would be assigned on that day 1, and you would not have to stay through the 8th.
Okay, thank you.
So for the attendance survey, if I'm planning on staying for the other meeting, do I do it now or wait till afterwards?
Your choice. If you have time now, go ahead and get it completed, because I've run into the problem where I don't get it done and then they don't get their stipend check. So if you have time now, I would go ahead and suggest getting it done, but it will be available throughout the next session also.
Thank you.
Also, Anita, for the battle bots, we never got confirmation. Well, I never did, of like exactly how to go on that pathway. And then when I check the website, it just says information to come.
Did you get equipment?
No, and I was at all the trainings.
Did you complete the contract?
Apparently not. I just know she said she was going to get us more information, and then we never got it. So I don't guess we just can't do that now.